I remember on my first day of council, we all sort of went into the chamber and chose a seat and sat down, and then someone pointed out to me that I was sitting in their seat and I had to move, so I shuffled around a few. There's sort of a bit of a pecking order there, or there was on the first day. But I just remember sitting there and had a big grin on my face, I suppose, because it was the first time that I'd sat on that side of the table, and I was an equal, and it took me a while to get my head around being an equal with these people that I'd in some situations had quite a confrontational relationship with when I'd come to present on a submission, or I'd been arguing for why they should take more interest in Kaiti or young people or whatever it was. And I guess we've had there's certain councillors that I probably have more in common with, and others that we probably have less in common with, but across all of them I've got respect for each of them. They each bring something really unique, and even those that I really struggle with, they bring some of the best contributions I think to council. So it's been a pleasant surprise in that sense, I suppose, that we've been able to maintain our relationships, and I think we do cooperate quite a lot. Occasionally people will get into a bit of a argy-bargy in the chamber, but those occasions are actually quite rare, and compared to the way I see some other councils functioning, even locally, I think in the past, the council for this term has on the whole been really cooperative and got along really well, and as a result I think it's been quite productive. There's always areas that we can improve in, and I'm keen to make sure that we do that in the future. Well, I got into council in the first place a bit reluctantly. For many years I thought the council needed to be a bit more diverse, and tried to find some other people to go in there. I think part of that was because I hadn't grown up here. I was sort of hoping that I'd find a local person that I could really get behind and support into the role. But I guess over time just a lot of people supported me and suggested that I do it, and had a bit of involvement through my time with Ka Pai Kaiti and just different issues in the community. So council was a familiar place to me, and I got on well with quite a few people there, and had some frustrations as well. So just the time seemed right, and I stood 2007 and missed out by 100 votes, and that kind of gave me the impetus to give it another go, and decided that there was enough support out there to maybe get in another time. So 2010 I tried again, so got in and did really well, and have been there since. So just coming to the end of my first term, and have really enjoyed it. The first time I stood in 2007, I decided just sort of the day that the nominations closed, so I didn't put a lot of thought and energy into sort of the lead up to the campaign, and so the second time around, I sort of basically, when I got missed out by 100 votes and decided I was going to give it another shot, had a 3-year kind of campaign and really thought about lots of stuff in that period. But when it came down to the actual organising the campaign, I did have a few mates that helped me out, and we used to have sort of campaign planning meetings and things, and there was a bit of fundraising involved. I had to buy billboards and print flyers and that kind of stuff. So we talked sort of what were the groups that would be good to speak to, and what were the issues that I was passionate about, and how do they connect with kind of what the public were most interested in. And so we had a sort of probably the year of the election, so about this time 3 years ago, we started meeting on a monthly basis, probably a group of 5 or 6 of us, and that just got built up between then and the election time. And I had a few helpers to put flyers in the letterboxes and that kind of stuff, and really appreciated their support. I was the one that was sort of going to get in if it happened, but they were doing it because they just wanted to get behind me. And so having some friends who can also tell you off sometimes if you've been a dick, or you're saying things that you shouldn't have, or supporting you if you're feeling down, like no one actually cares, and you don't feel like you're actually going to get in. Having those people around is quite helpful, I think, during the campaign period. And also just finding some people that can give you some endorsements. So I had some respected Gisborne people, I suppose, that were willing to lend their name to support me, and I think all that helps when it comes to the wider public who don't necessarily know me, personally, and they may not even know what policies I stand for, but if they see someone that they respect and they're endorsing a candidate, then I think that can be a helpful thing for potential candidates to think about. Who do you know in the community that can speak and say nice things about you? Because that's always a bit better than if you have to say nice things about yourself. Finding someone else that can do it is a good move. So think about those sort of people. I guess the difference between national and local politics and elections are that at a local level we don't have the party thing, obviously. While some councillors are obviously political party members, the party doesn't really influence the policy so much in terms of what people are standing for, and so there's a lot more independence, and councillors at the end of the day represent themselves and those people that elected them, but they don't have an allegiance to a political party policy as such. And I guess we try to be a lot more responsive to our local communities. It's not about having to sort of think about the whole nation and how we share the resources around and that sort of thing, but it's really local and what's best for the district. So that means that where we're elected in our wards, if I'm elected in the city ward, it doesn't just mean that I care about the city, but I have to think about what's best for the rural areas and everyone that lives in Gisborne. So those are some of the differences, I suppose. And we're probably, while we campaign in our wards, we do need to make sure that we're connected well to the whole district, not only during the election campaign, but if we do get into council. The responsibilities of council are quite a contentious area of debate, and depending on which end of the ideological spectrum you're at or what your personal preferences are, there's quite a debate around what council is and isn't responsible for. There's those people who say it's just roads, rates and rubbish and shouldn't worry about anything else, and there's others of us that say, well, actually council, local government is the closest form of government that we've got to the people, and we should care about everything. We should take an interest in social issues because they impact on everybody that lives here, and often central government aren't close enough to the issues to really understand them properly and be responsive. I think it's exciting to be a councillor in Gisborne because one of the aspects is that we're a unitary authority, so we've got all the responsibilities of a regional council as well as a like a city council or a district council, and so there's always a diversity of issues going on there, and so we do look at the environment, the waterways, the issues of oil and gas exploration, the coastal, how we protect the houses at Wainui and the coast from erosion, and the dumping it in the sand dunes and all of those sort of things, the soil erosion and forestry, and how we get a good balance between industries. And we also look at some of the challenges for our district in terms of what's going to make it attractive for people to live here, what's going to make it easier, how can we utilise things like the internet to attract some of those people that work globally but they can live anywhere, and why wouldn't they want to live in such a beautiful place as this, as well as some of the more pressing social issues around unemployment and the issue of young people growing up and having to leave town, and that's good, but we want to see them, or some of them, come back again and see this town thrive through their involvement. So there's some unique challenges, I suppose, in our isolation, but also some unique opportunities in that isolation as well, and sort of an unspoilt natural environment, and people keen to keep it that way. I do think that we're going to be able to grow in that area of people who are choosing to live in Gisborne as a lifestyle choice rather than because there's a particular job here that they really want to do. Those that have the flexibility to choose where they base themselves, and we're seeing that already. There's a number of local companies and individuals that work either for national organisations or internationally, but they choose to live here. Partly some of them have got family roots here, and others have they come here on a surfing trip and decided to put their roots down here. So that's a key area that I think we need to focus on, and we need a real strong campaign to let those people know that this place exists and that there's some great opportunities here for them. I'd love to see the mill built at Hikurangi Forest Farms, or another mill that's going to create some local employment. I think we need to do more with the logs than we do at the moment. And I also think that we're going to see more Māori move back, and we're seeing that, there's a number are coming back from Australia, but I think that we'll see many of them again having the flexibility about where they work and choosing to base themselves and contribute back to the place that they identify with in terms of their marae and hapu and that sort of stuff. So there's some opportunities there again for that sort of Māori middle class perhaps to choose to live here, and keen to support that. And I'm keen on seeing what we can do with the forestry and biofuels, and what we can do with the slash there, or even the trees if the price of logs drops any further, and other opportunities like farming seaweed offshore and turning that into biofuels. I've been talking to a company in the States about that, and they're really keen to set up a model plant here that shows how they can turn that stuff into fuel and chemicals, and that sort of stuff I think is where we could be looking in a way that's going to be a bit more sustainable than some of the other options that are out there at the moment. I've just been speaking recently to ECT, the Eastern Community Trust, and they're quite interested in this idea of social enterprise and businesses that can make a real positive contribution socially as well as create jobs. And we're going to have a meeting shortly about sort of a hub where people can join their expenses together and overheads and that kind of stuff. Talking to the Heart of Gisborne about utilising some of our empty shops and providing them for a few months to a startup company to, as a retail space that's all set up with a cash register and counter and that sort of stuff, and shelving, and potentially covering the rent for a period, just to give them a leg up. I know our retailers are really struggling at the moment, particularly with online sales and people shopping on the internet. But again, while that's a threat to our local businesses, I also see it as a major opportunity, because in that sense we're not disadvantaged by our isolation, and if we can leverage some of the benefit that we get from perhaps cheaper shop space and factory space, then we're going to be in a better position than in places like Auckland and Wellington, where it's a lot more expensive to store your gears and have a business. So there's those sort of opportunities, I guess, which we need to think about creatively and maximise the opportunities that do exist. I think council, for some people, is a stepping stone into national politics, and Tolly certainly took that route. It's not something that I particularly aspire to. I think I'd find the challenge of party politics and compromising for the party line too great. I really appreciate the sense of being loyal to our local community, and that's where it's really at for me. And I just think local government, the potential of local government, is still so under-realised in our country, and I'm really keen to be part of helping it realise its potential. So I've got no desires to go anywhere else. And having said that, I also don't want to be around in local government forever either. I think people need to move on, and some people stay in council for decades, and I don't think that's healthy for the community. While I do appreciate and it's essential that we have the experience and knowledge that those long-termers bring, I think something like a 3-term limit would be something useful, and at least you'd have to stand down for 1 term, and then if you're really keen you could put your name in again. But I'd like to see something like that, which would just allow more people the opportunity to participate in the governance of our community and local democracy. There's so many talented people in Tairāwhiti, and really, and perhaps it would encourage them if they thought that they'd have a better chance of getting in because there were more spaces opening up in the election. It's very hard to unseat an elected representative once they're in there, unless they do something really, really bad. And so I think a lot of people were like, what's the point of putting my name forward? So if there was a higher turnover, I think it would be good for democracy and good for our communities.